Good evening. Would you stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please?
Let's pray. Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the beautiful weather. We thank you, Lord, that we live in a country where we're free elect officials to run our city, Father, and I just pray that you bless them, watch over them, protect them, Father. I just pray that you be with this meeting tonight, Lord, and I also pray that you be with everyone here. Just love them, let them love, and listen to their prayer requests, Father. Continue to watch over all employees for the city. Those who work in this building, Father, those who works at Public Works and Parks Department, and Lord, be with the police and fire department as well, Father. Just protect them, watch over them. We thank you again for all your blessings, and just keep us safe and healthy. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Tomorrow is Flag Day. We will be having our Flag Day ceremony at the Gold Star this year at 8:30 in the morning. So if you're available and would like to join in, please meet us there at 8:30. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for June the 13th, 2024. Let the record reflect that all members of council are present this evening with the exception of Councilman Bibby. Councilman Azinger is joining us by phone this evening. Before we start with our public forum this evening, Chief Scholl is here with us this evening to give us a reminder. And I'm doing you first because if you get a fire call, you're going to run. So
I'd like to remind everybody that our ice cream social is tomorrow night starting at 6 o'clock. Gang's over getting everything ready to park for it, so we invite all of you down. We really hope you show up. And we'll still use some baked goods and pies and cakes, so please think of that. One other thing I'd like to steal a few minutes on is our new fire truck is in. We've got that. We're going to have it on display tomorrow. We're getting our factory training on it next week, and we'll be putting that truck into service this coming week. So we thank you all for that.
all right, Chief, thank you. All right, so we have 4 people that signed up to speak this evening on the public forum. We will start out with Brenda Powell.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Powell, and I live on 31st Street. I wanted to start out with the item on the agenda, which is the consortium. I was just curious about knowing how much money that is in that account and what has been spent on what on. I wanted to bring up about the possibility of a incentive program that maybe that the city would be interested in with their residential property that they own, that maybe they would maybe you'd want to give a certain amount of money to bring people in as to help them with a down payment on a house to bring people in. Another thing I brought up before the Planning Commission was actually a roundtable discussion like they had in Charleston with developers, and I found out that we don't have that many in this area. But I think it would be good to have a roundtable discussion with council here and with Parkersburg and also Williamstown, with the Wood County Economic Development on what residential properties that each city owns and what maybe could be possibly that you could do with it, for building. The other thing I thought about actually is the CDBG money. And I noticed that in those documents it says about, helping people with their rent and things of that sort. And I didn't know whether or not that the city has ever did that, if they've ever, helped people out with their rent if they needed it with that money. And I thought it would be nice if the city would, in fact, that people come in to live and want to rent, that maybe there could be an incentive program there with the income, of course, that is, required, to maybe give them the first month's rent, to help them out. It's just an idea, that maybe it could help. The other thing I wanted to bring forth was about the opioid money. And at the town hall meeting, that Chad Emmerich had, he brought up about a mentorship program. And that mentorship program, about mentorship, but I was thinking about a program that actually would involve all of the communities and help all of the children and adults in some way. I spoke with Kathy Boswell Davis is actually, she's here. She's running for council, and she brought up about being involved in a mentorship program. So I thought this would be something that we need in this area, that money could go towards that program to help educate and help people and children in the whole area, but helping our community as well. I wanted to mention about NASA. West Virginia has a NASA West Virginia Space Grant Consortium for that's called STEM for Kids, and it's from pre-kindergarten clear up to 12th grade. They also have a program for college students as well, but I thought that would be a great thing for the kids in our area, and you can find this on wvspacegrant.org. So I just wanted to present these few things, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Brian Flynn.
Hello, Council. So, past few weeks, I've been sitting in here listening to everybody talk about Spencer's Landing. And yet, not once have I heard anybody talk about the infrastructure of Vienna. We have roads that are deteriorating, and yet we want to bring more traffic in. We have homes that are falling apart, yet we want to bring outside people into this area. If we want to be a city of example, let's present the city as a model. Let's fix up the place. Quit worrying about a 4,000 to 5,000 person amphitheater. When we did the Freedom Festival here a couple of years ago, excuse me, we held it down at the mall where Home Free performed. And honestly, I was a part of, I went down and watched it. And honestly, it was very well ran. Plenty of parking for people down at the mall. You didn't have to worry about, parking spaces, restrooms, whatnot. You had it all right down at the mall. I think we're focused too much on river frontage than anything else. And, I think with Spencer's Landing, we need to start small. Rather than building the amphitheater, start out with like a farmer's market. Buy, sell, trade stuff there. Start out small, then work our way up. Build up our revenue. Has anybody polled the Adelphia and People's Bank in Marietta to see just how many people have shown up to those concerts? Because the Adelphia is very limited spaced. And they have parking across the street at People's Bank parking lot. But if they can't fill their venues to capacity, what good are we going to have? Right now we have a $30,000 a month bill solely depending upon the pool. And I don't see how that's going to happen. I think we spent $23,000 in concessions up there at the pool. Why didn't we contact the local food trucks? Have them park outside the pool. Let the kids go out and buy stuff from the food trucks. Why did we invest so much money into the pool without knowing the end result? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Henry Sasson.
Henry Sasson, 1307 Greenmount Hills Drive here in Vienna. Over the last couple of weeks, I've heard people talking and stuff in the paper, also things from the Board of Education. And I reflected back on my 36-year career with my company. I've been fortunate enough to do business in 45 different countries around the world. And in the process of doing so, I've been able to convince people with data. Even our CEO that we had in the prior company before we merged, instead of shutting a plant down, I convinced him to keep a plant open. My boss wasn't supportive of it because he said it's career suicide. The other guy said, I'll flip the slides because they still had the transparencies back there. We did it. They kept the place open. He went back to Wall Street and said, we're keeping the place open. So data is a powerful tool. So instead of talking about things locally here, in a detailed fashion, I want people to reflect on something. So when you look at West Virginia as a whole, is this going to pop up?
Hit that button
It's not a one.
on the,
Which one? This one?
looks like a computer. It
This one?
Should be on the screen itself.
should be this one. This one we had earlier.
We tested this once. Oh, man. I'll tell you what, Plan B. Is it gonna do this? I'll do it like this.
The TVs aren't on.
They were.
Sabotage.
Yeah, that's what happened. Here, do you guys know which one to hit on here?
Right there.
Oh, now it comes on. Still no signal.
Hit that button on the right.
I'm the only one that ever does it right.
It's not.
Nope. That's for the Elmo.
Well, I'll tell you what, Elmo's gonna have to work. So I'll do it the old-fashioned way. So, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Yeah, there we go. Okay, this is rough, but it's not the way I wanted to do this. Going through, this is the population of the state of West Virginia. When you look at the census data from 1970 to 2022. Going through, our peak year in West Virginia was 1980, so the state of West Virginia has declined in population by roughly 9%. When you look at Wood County peaked its population in 1980, and right now we're down about 11% as Wood County. When you take a look at Wood County as a whole, and look at the population split from the data in the census, there we go. And you look at the age brackets. The two top brackets in the state of West Virginia that have increased while the other ones decreased in Wood County is those 50 years of age and up. If you use 1980 as the base, which is the peak year. All the other age groups have declined. Now, when you go through and take a look at the city of Vienna, our peak year from what the data showed was 1980. So currently we're down about 8.4% on a, from 1980. When you look at the age brackets, and the data for city of Vienna was different than the census data, which was in the other buckets. But when you looked at the 5-year average, those that are 5 to 17, they don't make up a large percentage of the population anymore. As a state, as a county, as a city, we're in decline. Bringing in businesses that are here as service industries ain't gonna grow a family. You really need to start thinking about what we're gonna do. This is the state, this is the county, this is the city.
Henry,
Yes,
hang on. He's exceeded his time limit. Is council agreeable to extend it?
Motion to extend.
You have 3 minutes.
thank you, sir. So when you think about it, and whatever Wood County's looking to do with schools, Why are they consolidating? They're consolidating because everything's shrinking. If you look at the state, we used to be a powerhouse. When you look at the Northern Panhandle, we're in Steel, that's where I grew up. It's gone. You look at the St. Albans area, Charleston area with the chemical companies, they're gone. You had Borg Warner, then GE Plastics, it's gone. And the only way to really grow a community is those type of jobs, because they come in, they stay, they grow, they have a family. So as we're thinking about what we want to do, whether it's the city, the county, the state, we really need to band together and do something different from an image standpoint. I don't know who watched the news today or heard about the news. West Virginia is number 50 when it comes to the SAT scores. At the bottom of the pile, below Louisiana and Mississippi. I mean, come on, people. New schools ain't going to make kids. New school is there because of our failure as a community, as a state, as a county, in growing a population to bring people here. So I beg everybody, take a look at what we're planning on doing now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now. Because if you look at the data trends for the state, the county, the city, it's in decline. It's been on a decline for the last 50 years. So what are we doing to turn that around? And the other thing, when I looked at, comparable cities in West Virginia, it's St. Albans, Bridgeport, and Bluefield. Now, we got a smaller city because of our square area space, but I was looking solely on population. But this is what I would like to take away from here. As we work on any type of plans, what are we doing to stop this bleed? Because it's a bleed. So with that, I thank you. And sorry it didn't work on the thing on the screen, but for whatever reason, technical difficulty.
Kathy Boswell Davis.
Hi, I'm Kathy Boswell Davis. I live on 58th Street in Vienna. Basically, just wanted to introduce myself. I decided to run for city council as a write-in, and I'm very excited to be a voice for Vienna. And together, I believe that we can be the change. I also wanted to talk a little bit about what Brenda Powell brought up about the mentorship. When I was working and retired from Marietta Memorial, they had a program building bridges to careers. And anybody that worked in the system or any of the big plants around Marietta, Belpre area, they could volunteer their time and go to the schools and mentor the children. And I mentored 5 girls for 3 years. And it was a lot of fun, got to know them. They wanted life skills that they weren't getting in the schools. They wanted to learn how to balance a checkbook and build a resume. And we did those things. And they actually wanted home ec back. They wanted to cook, they wanted to sew. So it's very rewarding. It doesn't cost a whole lot. It's just your time. So again, I'm Kathy Boswell Davis, and I'm very excited to take on this new challenge. Thank you.
The minutes from the regular council meeting on May the 23rd, 2024 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, and the minutes will stand approved as posted. Report of the treasurer, Councilman Leach.
Reconciliation of funds for the city of Vienna for June 10th, 2024, been presented, reviewed. The accounts appear to be in order, and the city is financially sound.
All right, thank you. We have no unfinished business this evening, so we'll move right into new business. First item on our agenda this evening is a resolution authorizing participation in the Parkersburg Wood County Home Consortium for the period July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, and approving the fiscal year 2024 annual action plan and authorizing the filing of the plans with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Good evening, council. You want me to present this over here and then bring you the sheet to
Well,
sign?
it has to be, you can do it.
Okay. Sorry, first time here. So I'm Jake Frady. I'm with the city of Parkersburg. I'm the development projects coordinator.
Jake,
And-
we need you to talk into the
Oh,
microphone.
Sorry about that. Jake Frady from the city of Parkersburg, development projects coordinator. I'm here to present a resolution to the city of Vienna authorizing participation in the home consortium for the next year. This is the fifth year in our 5-year CAPER, which our annual action plan is tied to each year. We put the annual action plan on display at the city and on our website. The portion that affects the city of Vienna and is Williamstown as well, that are parts of the consortium, are our home funds. So just a brief overview of this year's budget. Our allocation from HUD for 24 fiscal year was $265,112. We anticipate program income of $160,000 for a total of $425,000, or $425,112. We break these down into a few different categories. We have $40,000 towards the Habitat for Humanity. It is a percentage of our funds that we contribute towards community housing development organizations every year. We have our down payment assistance program with just over $193,000 in funds. It was mentioned earlier. It is available to the city of Vienna and Williamstown, any resident of Wood County, actually. And in just the last year, we have used that program to assist the purchase of 3 homes in Vienna. We also have $150,000 set aside for a low-income housing tax credit project. So that'll be a developer for additional housing to be determined. And then $42,000 in general administration to run and coordinate all of our projects.
All right. So what we have before us this evening is a resolution authorizing the participation in the Parkersburg Wood County Home Consortium for the period of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. We have participated in the Home Consortium for as long as I can remember. Parkersburg administers the plan, and so I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution authorizing participation in the Parkersburg Wood County Home Consortium.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we participate in the Parkersburg Wood County Home Consortium. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please poll council.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Azinger?
Yeah.
Mr. Leach?
Yes.
Mr. Rapp?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Mancuso?
Yes.
All right. Jake, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Who's your dad?
Mike.
Thomas and I.
Will do.
So you remember last name too.
F-R-A-D-Y.
Oh, I hadn't.
Well, I want to get in on this. So if you've got a brother, tell him.
No brothers.
Shot in
He's got a sister named Julie.
the Don't know her.
Her name.
Do not know her.
Do you want to attest my signature? Kim,
Yes, sir.
did your game changers come?
They're not here. I confirmed with her, so I don't know. There must have been something happened.
That's fine.
We need a copy of this for our deal. I'll tell you what, why don't you guys move on?
Well, I was gonna say, Jake, if you'll walk right into that door right there.
Okay.
Give that to Teresa, she'll copy it, and then you can,
Thank you.
unless you want to stay for this exciting. I didn't think so.
Thank you.
Just go see Teresa.
Will do. Thank you.
we will reschedule the Parkersburg High School Game Changers to a future meeting. Next item on our agenda this evening is a resolution to increase the city attorney's salary. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby increases the city attorney's annual salary from $35,422 to $38,256, an increase of 8% as previously budgeted by council. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution to increase the city attorney's salary.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution to increase the city attorney's salary. Is there any further discussion?
Well, I'm just curious. I mean, is your workload getting more? Is that-
Well, that's not, I don't know if the workload's getting more. I make the exact same amount of money that I've made when I started here in 2008. I've not asked for anything in 15 years. I thought at some point, you know, I should probably be okay. Is my workload increasing? It depends. It depends on the year, it depends on the council. I mean, I've been here for a long time. I've had years where it's not been as much, and I've had years where it's been more.
No, I don't object to it. I was just curious because we just went through the budget process and it
Right.
wasn't.
No, it was budgeted. It was in my budget. It was the only, like I said, it's the only time my budget has changed since I think I started here in November of, when I say that, my salary. It's when I started here in, I was early 2008. So I wasn't, you know, I try not to come to council and ask for too much, so.
Is there any further discussion? All
I
right.
would say that, I mean, I rely on Russ quite a bit. The stuff he does is outside my wheelhouse. And I call him during the day. I, email him, text him. He's always prompt in responding. I appreciate, his willingness to just get back to me, because usually I'm late asking what I want to know. So I just want to say I'm in favor of this raise.
All right.
And his pay has not kept pace with the rest of the city over these years.
All right. I'll call for the question then. Would you poll council, please?
Yes, Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Azinger.
Yes.
Mr. Leach.
Yes.
Mr. Rapp.
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Mancuso.
Yes.
All right. Passes unanimously. Fourth item on our agenda this evening is a resolution to approve a $3,350.71 bid from Jimmy Harper Construction and to appropriate and expend funds from the capital outlay line item to replace the overhead heater in the 46th Street garage. Our maintenance garage out on 46th Street, the heat has gone out on it, and so we have a need to replace that heater. Correct, Chief?
Yes, the heater just quit working this past winter. I forget how old the thing was, but it's got some internal problems. We checked on the price of fixing it compared to replacing it. With the age of it, we feel as though it's just better to replace it. This is not new money. This is money that was already in the budget, just for a different category than what's leftover money. So I'd like to switch it over to this project.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of a resolution to approve a $3,350.71 bid from Jimmy Harper Construction and to appropriate and expend funds from the capital outlay building line item to replace the overhead heater in the 46th Street garage.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, would you poll council, please?
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Azinger.
Yes.
Mr. Leach.
Yes.
Mr. Rapp.
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Mancuso.
Yes.
All right. Line item number item number 5 is the general fund budget revision number 10. Councilman Leach.
This, I believe, will be the last budget revision, 2023-24 general fund budget revision number 10. Has a number of categories. First is the transfer of unencumbered fund balances to the carryover. Current budget, $450,000, increase $1,406,884. New balance, $1,856,884. Transfer from account 345 under rents, current budget 20,000, increase 14,300, budget after increase 34,300. Transfers to under other funds on 444.68, transfer to capital reserve, it's a carryover, it's $1,406,884. Next line item under Parks, 540.68, contributions. This is contribution to the Youth Tackle Football League. Current budget $2,000, increase $15,000. Budget revised budget $17,000. Next line item, Police, 455.23 under Professional Services. This is for the cost of the drop program actuarial study and the prior wage and pension study. Current budget $13,000, increased by $7,000. New budget, revised budget $20,000. Next line item under IT, account 439.26 under insurance for unemployment, increased unemployment costs. Current budget $3,100, increased by $2,000. Revised budget $5,100. Next line item under streetlights, 581.13, utilities, increase in the cost of electricity for streetlights. Current budget $110,000, increased by $4,000 to a revised budget $114,000. Next line item, Friends of Vienna under 607.68. This is under contributions. This is an additional appropriation for the Friends of Vienna for the Freedom Festival. Current budget is $40,000, increased by $14,300. I would note that the $14,300 is, I guess, been earmarked. This is the amount in rents that we received from Hope Gas for the staging and storage area at the Manville property. And I know that the Friends of Vienna contributions are down this year. So the revised budget is $54,300. Next line item under code enforcement, 725.05. This is line item for group insurance to cover shortfall in health insurance. Current budget $29,600, increased $2,800. $32,400 is a revised budget. Transfer from $699 contingencies to cover the above revisions. Current budget $98,308. Deficit decreased by $30,800. Revised budget $67,508.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of general fund budget revision number 10.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve general fund budget revision number 10. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a comment about the money for Friends of Vienna, $14,300. We had budgeted $40,000 for this budget year that's going to end here at the end of the month. And, you know, in the 22-23 budget year, we had budgeted in the general fund budget, given them $25,000, and then we came back and did a budget revision for another $27,000. I think we did that before in 21 and 22, and now we're doing it again, you know, beyond what the general fund budget is. And so it starts to add up quite a bit, and that's very concerning to me. July 1st, when the new budget year begins, the 24-25 budget year, in their general fund budget, they had asked for $45,000, and Mr. Leach put $5,000 more up on the table, so they're getting $50,000 July 1st. And all this money doesn't account for the in-kind donation, which the city does with all the payroll from all the employees that help work the Freedom Festival or prepare for the Freedom Festival, etc. And that, I mean, that's in excess of, you know, $16,000 plus. So this starts, the Freedom Festival becomes really super expensive, and I'm not opposed to the Freedom Festival. I'm glad the city does it. What I have a problem with, there seems to be a pattern and practice of asking for some money in the general fund budget and then coming back and doing a budget revision and picking up more money. And when I balance that on, you know, all the other priorities that the city needs, and for example, I don't know, it was in April, I think, a couple months ago, the seniors came in and they had asked for money in their budget to be able, in the senior center's budget, to be able to increase the part-time person, moving them to full-time so that they can increase the amount of activities and the things that they can do over there. And that was put on hold despite the fact that we've had surveys from folks at the senior center. There was a letter in my box. I'm sure everybody got it from a senior advocating for that. And we're not listening to our seniors, but yet the last time that we met, we had, a tackle football team want $15,000. It seems like people keep coming and asking for money, and we keep giving them money, but the folks who really did it the right way and asked during the budget procedure get cut out. So, but for me, I don't agree with this $14,300, and I would like to amend it out, but I know that's going to create a problem. And I wish Amy was here so that we could have some help with this. But for right now, I would like to remove the $14,300 request from Friends of Vienna.
Are you making that as an amendment?
Yes.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend the general fund budget revision number 10. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Yeah, I just want to clarify why I seconded. I'm hearing that this is coming from, the storage and stuff for Hope Gas on the Johns Manville property. I feel like it would be very appropriate to start saving this money to potentially use it for the development of Spencer's Landing and the Johns Manville property. That seems like a much better use for that money, since that's kind of where that money's coming from. And I kind of feel the same way as Kim. Makes me a little uncomfortable that we agreed to a certain amount of money to support the Friends of Vienna, and then there's always a little bit more that we increase that. And it's kind of hard for me too, because I don't really see where that money goes once it goes into the Friends of Vienna as much as if it stays within the city's use of that money, and we can kind of clearly see where that money goes. So I think, at this time, and I understand the Friends of Vienna hosts the Freedom Festival, and that's a great event. But if they're really, I think we just need to think about how we're using this money a little bit better.
Okay. So I'd like to make a comment on this. It's one of those things when you host an event, you have no idea what kind of donations that you're going to receive from the area businesses and other entities that give money to the Freedom Festival. And so this year, the donations did not come in as strong as they have in the past. There were some unexpected costs that were associated with the festival itself that also contributed to this. The mall has asked for a $2 million insurance policy, which raised that cost of that insurance policy significantly, thousands of dollars worth of additional costs. And the comment that Councilperson Williams made about the additional hours at the senior center, we are working on a plan to bring in department heads, speakers with expert knowledge on Medicare and fraud and those kind of things. But the HR director and I had a meeting with the senior center director, and it was her opinion that she was not in favor of making that part-time employee a full-time employee. And I agree with that, because if we're not open on Fridays, the hours have not increased, and for other reasons, Linda is not in favor of making that a full-time position. So I cannot support that based on her recommendation. But we're still going to do a limited 1 Friday a month, 2 Fridays a month, whatever. I'm going to bring the police chief in. I'll bring department heads in to answer seniors' questions about what are things that are going on, all of those things, because I think it's a fun thing for the department heads. And we will reach out to Medicaid, Medicare experts, and people with the fraud divisions, maybe someone down from the county courthouse about probate and things like that, so we can get some education going and, have a lunch and then, spend a couple hours with an informational setting. So that's my opinions on that. And I do support the amendment, the original budget revision, so I would be against the amendment for those reasons. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I would like to speak on the amendment, please. I understand you plan for something and donations don't come through. You know what you do? You reduce. You reduce whatever, you cut out something that you intended to do. I understand that you have to sign contracts with entertainers way in advance, okay? But I don't think it's the city's responsibility to be the backup plan when those funds don't come in, because we try to manage our money expenditure through the budget process, and then it would be one thing for me if this came back and we had to do a budget revision just one time. But what I'm saying is, if you look back, we do it every time. We come and we pull more money from somewhere else and do a budget revision. Like I said, last year it was $27,000 for the rodeo. They didn't ask for that, but then we came back and did it. And this year they asked for more, they asked for 45,000, and we gave them 5,000 more than what they asked for, and now they're coming back for 14,300. So what I'm saying is, on their side, and I don't know anything about their organization and how they, or their budget or whatever, but everybody understands if you don't have enough money for something, what do? You cut your budget back. So that's why I'm requesting that this get amended out. But to the mayor's comment about the senior center, I think what the seniors asked for was not department heads to come over and give chats or lunch and learns or whatever. It was far more detailed than that, the things that they would like to do. And really that schedule that they have is the schedule that was set up right after everybody came out of COVID. And I understand COVID's still a thing, but for the most part, people are vaccinated, and it seems like, we're not having any outbreaks or anything like that. And so people want to do more things. I heard, I was at the senior picnic today, and several seniors talked to me about things that they would like to do, and that we're not meeting that need. And as Mr. Sasson had pointed out, our community is older, and so I think we need to meet the needs of our community. So I would rather, if we had extra money to spend it on the senior center. So.
Well, I guess I'm going to chime in since she's going to belabor the point. So a couple of things. The senior center doesn't have anything to do with the issue at hand, and that conversation's been had and is an ongoing conversation how to address those needs. There's other needs that are concomitant with the seniors in our community, which were amply illustrated by Mr. Sasson's data that he presented tonight. But with respect to the Freedom Festival, and it's been my position ever since day one that I've been on this council, is that, you support those things that are in demand with our citizens. And we've seen, there's the point made that the $27,000 for the rodeo. And I don't think anyone would dispute the rodeo was just far beyond anybody's expectation successful. Given the participation and everything with respect to the Freedom Festival, and our intentions to try to recruit and to make our community attractive to younger people who want to raise families. Notwithstanding, we don't have the best job base maybe that we had, 50 years ago. That's by some accounts never coming back. But there's other options that the state of West Virginia, our legislature, let's face it, in the last term or two, our state, we brought some significant new industry to West Virginia, and I think that's going to continue to happen. But having things like the Freedom Festival, which are fully participated in, and the fact that we had an opportunity to help them with this shortfall, and that the fact that we continue to increase the support for the Freedom Festival, if it was just a flat event that really wasn't making any difference, I think I would agree. I would not support increasing funding to it. But in the circumstances of things costing more, donations being less, et cetera, and the events that we're planning, and Ms. Williams made a perfectly, I guess, perfect point that we're kind of with this, is that, these contracts are signed, and you don't sign them, in May. You sign them in, last who knows, September. So in any event, I don't want to go on and on about it, but I think that, the participation in the Freedom Festival, the fact that we had these funds available, from the usage of that otherwise unused piece of property at this point, I'm in support of the increased funding for the Freedom Festival, and I'm opposed to the amendment.
All right. Is there any further discussion? All right, would you please poll council on the amendment?
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Azinger? This is on the amendment.
Excuse me one
Yeah.
moment. Mr. Azinger? Mr. Azinger, are you with us? Tom, are you with us? Tom, we're voting on the amendment to remove the funding out of the general fund budget revision number 10 for the Friends of Vienna funding in the amount of $14,300. Are you in favor of the amendment or against it?
For.
Okay. Mr. Leach?
No.
Mr. Rapp?
No.
I say no. Mr. Mancuso?
Yes.
All right, so it's a tie 3-3, so your amendment fails. All right. So we go back to the original resolution approving general fund budget revision number 10. Is there any further discussion on the budget revision as presented? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. Please poll council.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Azinger?
Tom, are you there?
Yeah, yes. I vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Leach?
Yes.
Mr. Rapp?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Mancuso?
Yes.
All right, the budget revision passes unanimously. We move on to item number 6 this evening, which is internal budget revision number 8.
This internal budget revision number 8, state approval is not required. These revisions are within the same account categories. Going through the various revisions under the police department, under dues and subscriptions, move money to cover increase in training expenses. Budget before the change, $7,000, decreased by $700. Transfer to training and education, current budget $11,500, increased by $700. A new budget or budget after change $12,200. Next line items all are within Parks Department. First, under 54014, under travel, this is to move money to cover various budget shortfalls. We're taking, all right, so first is from travel, $1,500, training and education, $1,500, contract services, $9,210, phone line item, $11,500, maintenance and equipment, I'm sorry, I messed this up. So decreasing those three, the first three, $1,500, $9,210, and increasing those to phones, line item 54011, in the amount of $4,100, maintenance equipment in the amount of $2,000, materials and supplies in the amount of $5,000. Next line item is under the pools, and this is to move money to cover additional cost of pool management fees and chemicals and various supplies. Salaries line item, $54,000 being decreased by $14,600, adding $2,600 to professional services for the management fees, adding $12,000 to line item 54241 for maintenance materials and supplies. And so budget before $44,500, budget after $56,500. Last line item under personnel, line item 42230, contract services. This is to move money to cover shortfall in health insurance. Budget before the revision, $47,000, debit at $1,500 for a $45,500 revised. Increase the line item for health insurance, currently $12,650, increased by $1,500 to a revised budget item of $14,150. Total budget revisions, $305,657.
And this is not new money. There is no money being moved. There is no money being allocated. It is money being moved from one line item to another. The actual expenditure on this is zero. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of general fund budget revision number 8.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve internal budget revision number 8. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, would you poll the council, please?
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Azinger?
Tom, are you there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Leach?
Yes.
Mr. Rapp?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Mancuso?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item on our agenda this evening is item number 7. It's the coal severance fund revision. Councilman Leach.
Yeah, this is coal severance fund budget revision number 1, and account number 29902, unencumbered fund balance carryover, current budget $2,000, increased by $25,555, for a revised budget of $27,555. The increase, and then the transfer to streets, 57058, capital outlay other. This is carryover monies to use on street projects. Current budget $36,600, increased by $25,555. New budget amount $62,155.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of coal severance fund budget revision number 1.
So moved.
Second, sorry.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve coal severance fund budget revision number 1. Is there any discussion?
Just a quick question. The money that's being transferred, do we know what that's going towards under the streets?
Just streets, yes.
Yeah, but is it going towards a specific project? Or?
It is not. It goes into the street line item. $25,000 it is not enough money to do hardly anything. So that historically, we have transferred the coal severance fund budget into the street line item.
Okay.
All right. If there's no further discussion, would you please poll council?
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Azinger?
Tom, are you with us?
Yeah. I vote yes.
Okay. Mr. Leach?
Yes.
Mr. Rapp?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Mancuso?
Yes.
All right. The budget revision passes unanimously. So the next item on our agenda this evening is the opioid settlement fund discussion. We've included in your packet the information that we received from the state Attorney General's office, which outlines all of the rules and guidelines that we're supposed to consider for the use and expenditure of these opioid fund settlement funds. Hopefully you all have had a chance to read those. We discussed it at Budget and Finance on Tuesday, and so it's quite complicated. Mr. Leach, you went to a meeting today with the Opioid First Foundation. Any comments from you, sir?
Well, just, I don't know comments, but information maybe to share. So Jonathan, I don't remember his last name, so I'm going to call the executive director, whatever his title might be. So this First Foundation is made up a number of folks on the state level. The amount of money available to the First Foundation is about, I'm going to say, and again, I'm just ballpark numbers that I'm going from memory, but the lion's share, maybe 74% of the opioid money coming into the state is going to the First Foundation, and the remaining percentage is being distributed based on certain formulas to municipalities and counties. One of the first things they identified is that, and the example that stuck out to me was, I don't know, Weston is in
Lewis County.
Lewis County. You know, and so Weston only got like $1,800, okay? And Lewis County got like 1.3 million. And yet most of there's a disparity because the formula they use to allocate the money is like where the bad actors are, like where the Walgreens are. And so Walgreens not in Weston, but it's in Lewis County. And so they're looking at addressing some of that. You know, 38,000 went to Williamstown. Of course, we know 193 to City of Vienna. I think about 1.3 million to Parkersburg because they have so many pharmacies, et cetera. Anyway, so they identified that needs addressed. The other is the this is outside this first foundation. Is even though the Attorney General kind of corralled this money for them, the First Foundation, as I understand it, it's an independent body that's going to be looking at the application of these funds. And one of these things, and Mayor Joyce is on that board, and he spoke to this. And one of the things that I found most interesting is that virtually nothing has been done with any of these funds yet. So this is a blank slate. This is an opportunity for early adopters to get involved and to consider ideas. I think that they're going to be pretty open-minded. If you look at, you've got I guess they, characterize it kind of like 4 buckets: prevention, enforcement, education. There's just different, as you read through the document that we have in the Dropbox, for example, there's quite a bit targeted toward addicted, mothers and things. And there were some discussions about different programs that can be for there. So, and then the final thing I guess I would say is also, there was some discussion, and a question I had really was, okay, so you have some of these things, that might be better to be kind of a top down from the foundation state level being adopted as programs, because it not, for example, our needs are different than what Parkersburg's might be. But in some areas from a state top down, but then for us to have the ability to tailor some of our requests, like we've discussed in a couple previous discussions, to tailor our request to what we think would most benefit us. Some of it being, obviously, we've taken some steps with respect to law enforcement. There have been discussions about some ideas for prevention, and even, for example, Brenda's comment about mentorship, things like that, I think, are on the table. So they seemed like they were going to be pretty open-minded within these guidelines. And then also, if you look, there wasn't much discussion about that this morning, but also, so that you're aware, toward the end of this, they also talk about the accountability accounting responsibilities and the way that that's going to be set up to track the usage of the funds. And then at the end, of course, you've got the opioid regional map that's in black and white but there's basically, 4 regions, 6 regions that this is broken down into. So it's an informative meeting. I think it's, like I said, the takeaway is they're just getting started. And so the opportunity exists, for those who want to participate, get information, get involved, and to get with it. And that was kind of, Mayor Joyce's comment, and also Jonathan's. I wish I could remember his last name. But he seemed to be very motivated to get this program up and running.
I'd like to add a couple things to that. In our discussions about these funds and what have you, Jim listed the categories there, their suggestions. But for the past 2.5, 3 months, we've been working on a plan with the Board of Education and with the Building and Trades to start a mentorship program. The building trades would provide the training for skilled labor. Henry made the point about how many of our industries have left. Well, I think we will benefit from all the development that's going on in Jackson County. Constellium, Timett, these are major manufacturers, and they're going to require hundreds of employees. And I do believe that there will be people that live in the city of Vienna that will drive the 35 miles to get to work down there because the salaries are so good. And so we're working on a mentorship program with them to get it off the ground. And so at some point, I will be coming to council to say we would like to apply for a grant to help fund part of that training program. Everyone that sits on this council has a voice. So whatever programs that you're interested in, if council approves those are things that we can support. Kim has tried now twice to get the Game Changers here. That program is being actively supported in Parkersburg. And so if we were fortunate enough to get the Game Changers to come to Vienna and start a program, I think that's got a lot of benefit to it. For myself personally, I will be asking for law enforcement dollars. I think that the police are going to need all the help they can. So I think that there's some opportunities there that we need to capitalize on. But the opinion of everyone that's on this council will be heard, and then council, the majority, will decide what we apply for. And it's not a one-shot deal. You can make, the applications, so we don't have to put a whole bunch of them together. But we'll do it in whatever fashion council chooses.
I have a comment about that, if I may. I would really think it would be beneficial for us to conduct a council meeting like we do at budget time, where we have outside agencies come in and pitch for what they need within their agencies, a dollar amount and that kind of thing. And the reason I say that is, I'm all about prevention, and as Mr. Leach is talking about, that bucket, and Mayor, you mentioned the building trades, skilled labor. I support that. I support law enforcement, and we voted to do some things with regards to law enforcement. But what I think maybe we don't understand, or maybe the community's not aware, there's a lot going on in the substance use disorder community. Those are the impacted people. I would like to get a chance for those impacted people to come here and tell us what's going on within their organizations, because unless you go out and, connect with those folks, you probably don't know. And I got a chance to learn a few things, and I know, I can't remember the guy's name, last name Collins, North Star Child Advocacy. Greg, okay. I want to say Phil Collins, and I know that's absolutely the wrong answer.
It's an excellent column.
Something's in the air tonight.
Yeah, something's definitely in the air tonight. But anyway, so he had a very compelling presentation. I think I was deeply affected, and I know you were too as well, Melissa. So what I would like to see happen is for folks who are in the impacted communities to come and talk to us and see how we might be able to support the nonprofit under the conditions of the guidelines and the conditions within, how we have to work.
I think we should do that as a special council meeting, as a one-item agenda,
Yes,
okay? And not try to do it on a regular council item?
yes.
Okay, that's fine. All right, what else?
Yeah, I really like that idea. And I think if we as a council can kind of come up, because the funds are going to come in phases, it's not like we get it all at once. If we can come to an agreement, to kind of have a plan that then we can fluctuate in if we need to a little bit, whether it's, say, it's a 60-40 plan maybe, or something where 60% of whatever we have come in goes directly towards law enforcement, or something that the city is, as a municipality, what can we do to make sure that we are heading it off, because it's a multi-front problem. And then I really like the idea of having those outside agencies. Our church does something similar. It's like, we don't need to duplicate what somebody else is already doing. Who's doing it right, and let's get on board with them. So, we do that every year also, in that same way. So let's find out who's doing it well, and however we need to put that invitation out, that, if you have some, if you're involved in the opioid solutions, then to contact us and we'll get you on the agenda for that. So I really like that idea. And then you just go ahead and say, if it's 60-40 or whatever it is, then that takes some of that guesswork out. And as opportunities come our way, it doesn't mean that we have to write checks right away. We can say, okay, well, who's coming forward now? Okay, well, this is coming forward, and we're actually kind of maxed out on this now, so we can bring it back and say, do we want to pursue this, because this kind of goes against what we originally. So I like that idea.
I mean, because part of the problem with this money is, like, we can't really develop a program, and then, because the money is not, it's finite, right? So, and we don't really know, but why recreate the wheel? Because there are people out there working on this all the time, and they know what's going on and can tell us what their needs are, so.
Okay.
One other thing I wanted to, just because it occurred to me as you guys were talking, when you talk about the different buckets, different prevention versus enforcement versus, and a lot of this has to do with, opioid opioid use disorder, and then substance abuse disorder, mental health conditions that do that. And I'm thinking, in Vienna proper, for example, we may not have as big of a percentage of addiction population as other places do. But somewhere we very well may that people struggle is in the people that work in the city of Vienna, in the retail jobs and in the restaurants. And then, and a lot of this has to talk about support for people in treatment and recovery, but also, connections to care, just different ways. And I'm thinking, what population do we have that would be in demand? And we certainly see, the unemployment numbers or the employment numbers continue to be strong quarter after quarter. I know that we have employers who struggle to retain reliable employees, and my guess is, especially in some of the fast food and different retail jobs where you don't have the big dollar compensation, that they struggle with things like, in my old bugaboo, childcare. And there is, for example, and again, you have to be within but that's one of the things. So I think that being creative in terms of who within our community and how would our community benefit in some creative ways, that's something that kind of popped up to me when you guys were saying, get the people involved who know where the need is. I would hazard to guess that would be a need that would be pretty easy to identify in our community.
Okay. Any further comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think what Kim is proposing is a great idea, because as council members, we may not be the most aware of what's going on, especially in that world. So if we could get some folks that are involved with it, that are in it every day, helping people out with addiction or opioid use, and work to find a way to help prevent that use, I think that's the highest and best use of this money. And that's kind of how they have it listed out in their core strategies. The majority of these things discuss prevention and life-saving strategies and stuff for folks that are addicted. And I think once we kind of have that meeting, it's probably going to be something where we might need to sit down and maybe, as Melissa was saying, come up with a plan for how we as a city want to distribute that money, similar to how the First Foundation is distributing that money. It'd probably be wise of us to kind of come up with a list of A, B, C priorities and categories, and how people might be able to apply for that, for us to help facilitate that distribution of funds, for sure.
And just throw this out there, you might want to consider talking to parole and probation officers. I deal with a lot of folks that have been through treatment, and those are the folks that are dealing with the people that are trying to make that transition from my life was a train wreck to I'm getting to a normal life, and they could probably tell you a lot of the needs that the people that they're supervising need or could use. So just throw it out.
I'll try to include them. All right. Mr. Fehrenbacher, you're the highest ranking state official that's with us this evening. In your conversations about all of this process, any advice or suggestions that you would make?
First of all, I think the discussion that you're having today is very timely, and the focus that you're putting on bringing some experts, Councilman Williams has talked about, I think is very sound. One of the committee assignments I have in the House of Legislators, the House of Delegates in the legislature, is on the prevention and treatment of substance use. And I've come a long way, but I am in no shape, form, or fashion an expert on the topic. But I do think that with the guidance from the state's foundation that's been established, there are guidelines. There is a desire, because this is not unique to West Virginia, but nationwide, is the track and frankly measure outcomes so that we spend the money, because this is like going to be spent over a 10-year period. So I think to start with your best allocation of funds, but then make sure you understand where money is being spent elsewhere, not just in the state, but in the country, and where there are good programs delivering positive results, that we look for those types of providers to make sure that that can be done not only in West Virginia, but specifically in Vienna.
Okay.
So this is a growing thing, and I also believe, just as a caution, is that there may be some people that have less than the best motives, that see the literally billions of dollars. So that's just to make sure that the money that is, devoted to these programs are well spent, and we're tracking deliverables and outcomes.
Well, you and I are both a part of the group that meets at WVUP. There's a lot of resources there. Parole and probation, they come every time. I'm sure we can get some good help from those folks if we reach out to them.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, so on your feet.
Oh.
So, we talked about the buckets of different, but distinguishing, if you know, so we've got our $193,000. Okay, that we may be more used for whatever, very specific Vienna targets, right? I don't see anything that differentiates our ability to pursue dollars. We have control of our fund and we decide what to do with it, but then we can approach the foundation in any manner that we choose, regardless of our individual allocation. Is that your understanding?
I don't know how the foundation is, if you will, allocating the funds, but I would be surprised, because my reading, you read it on the internet, it's got to be truthful, right? Is that the settlement between, the drug manufacturers and the distribution system like the Walgreens and others said it must be spent on, a certain percentage on prevention, a certain amount on this, a certain amount on that. And so I would have expected that the foundation would impose some perhaps range of spending, but not be totally kind of unfettered and uncontrolled.
Where did you see percentages? It's not in the document that we received.
And it may have
in
been
the
something that
allocation.
you all discussed as when you're developing the MOU, but I didn't see a percentage as far as allocation goes.
Okay,
And I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, we have a draft copy of an MOU, or a draft copy of an appendix to an MOU.
I've read some things, I've listened to some podcasts, and there was some sense that I retained that, you've got to spend a certain amount of money on this and a certain amount of money on that.
And that might be the
I'll try to
foundation's
retrieve
guideline.
that if I can and cite a reference or something.
I imagine that would be helpful to council to know that, they may have ideas for one
Harry, I was going
great
to refer you
program.
next.
And then, it turns out they can only spend 25% on
Right.
that particular category.
My last understanding was that there's $277 million in that pool now. But it'll increase, I'm sure, with each one of these settlements that comes in. But thank you. We'll,
Yeah, and the other thing I heard was that, Purdue Pharmaceutical Company, the manufacturer of OxyContin, there's still a negotiation on their bankruptcy settlement and liability and all that, so there's potentially more money that is yet to be agreed upon that will add to the funds that are already out there.
okay. All right. Any final comments? Mr. Azinger, do you have any comments on the opioid settlement, sir?
Yeah.
Did you have a comment you wanted to make, Tom?
No.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll see what we can do about setting the meeting up. We might be able to get Mayor Joyce to come and join us. So he is on the board, as Mr. Scoggs said, or Mr. Leach one said. So we'll move on then this evening. Jackson Pool update.
I'm going to defer to you since I have been out of town.
Okay.
So,
So if you all have had an opportunity to go up by the pool, you'll notice that the slides are in. They're actively working on assembling them. It's incredible how many pieces there are up there. And it's my understanding that the crane will be in Monday to start actually erecting them. The tentative plan now is to be closed all of next week, and then we would reopen on the 24th. So depending on if we catch a break and things fall in place, we will keep you updated on that. But for now, everything except for the slides are in place, and the pool is being used very heavily. I think that all of the people that are going are very happy with it. And so I think things are great with the swimming pool.
I'll make a comment about just usage of it. We went, before we left out of town, it was 2 Sundays ago. It was like, I don't know, 68 degrees or something outside, right? And I said, that's okay, because we are going to the pool and we're going to have fun. I don't care how, what the temperature is outside. And I'm telling you what, that pool water was awesome. So the heaters, the cost of the heaters was nothing compared to the overall cost of the entire project. And I am really glad that we did that. That is really going to extend the life on the front end and back end of the pool. And, it wasn't like it was, warm and cozy, but we had a fun day, because I cannot stand to get in cold water. And it was really awesome. So
84 degrees.
Is that what it was? Oh, I don't know. I didn't check. I just know that it was warm enough that I wanted to stay in all day. So it was awesome.
Okay. All right. So any questions on the pool? All right. Last item, well, excuse me, wait a minute. I'll do it now. I just want to provide some information, because there are several things that are floating around out in the community that I think need to be addressed. And one of them is the swimming pool. And so the other day, Kristen called and asked a question for the newspaper, and I explained to her that we had a conventional loan. And so I don't know how many of you all are homeowners or property owners or whatever, but whenever you take a mortgage out on a piece of property, what do you typically put up as collateral? Your house. And so the loan that we have on the swimming pool lists the property that the pool sits on. All right? And so it is a conventional loan. That's just the way it is. Most banks won't give you $3 million just on your word. And so there were some discussion points about the loan and the payments and all of those things and the interest that were being charged. And so I just want to give you some basic information. The note that we took on the swimming pool has a 5.29 loan rate. It is being financed for 10 years. The interesting part about that is we could have paid that note off. We did not have to finance that. The city has resources that we could have paid that note and simply paid for the swimming pool. But we're getting 5.33% interest on our money. So we're actually making money by borrowing the money to use to make the payments on the swimming pool. And so it's a no-brainer for me. We do it all the time when we buy police cruisers or any of the other items that we typically finance. We certainly have the resources to pay cash for dump trucks and police cruisers and even fire trucks. But because of the way the city is financially based, we make more money on our money than we pay out to use your money. And so for us, it is a way, it's not a lot of money, but we are on the positive side. We make money when we borrow on those things. So, it's some people may not understand that, but it is a very true fact. And we are blessed with a great finance director that she looks at every angle on this stuff. And so, and we also had excellent bond counsel when we went through this process. And so the funding on the swimming pool, it's as solid as you can do. So with that, we will move on the first meeting of our monthly meetings. We always talk about reports. Does anyone have a standing committee report that they would like to give? All right, then I have one I would also like to do on that. Actually, two. There's a lot of discussion going on right now, and so my reports. I'm the chairman of the utility board. Okay, And so there's a lot of discussion going on right now about a water line break that we had here in town. And I just want to give you all the background on how these things work. In order to repair a service line, which is the line that comes off of our main line that goes into your house, we have to reach out to Miss Utility to get the lines marked. You have to have the water, the gas, all of the other underground utilities marked so that when we run a backhoe in there that we don't tear them up, because if you tear them up, then you have to pay the damages to get them repaired. And so there was a water break up on 13th Avenue between 21st and 22nd Street, which we were very well aware of. It was a very small leak. And so our Public Works Director reached out to Miss Utility and said, hey, we want to get this fixed. Can you please come in? Miss Utility was busy, so typically we get good service from them, but it took more than 3 days to get them on site. I personally do not like to see water leaks at all because I do not like to waste water. But the reality of it is it costs us about 22 cents for every 1,000 gallons of water that you see. We produce water at 22 cents a gallon. And so based on the numbers that I was given, a service line leaks about 7 gallons of water in a specified period. And so even though it looks like it's a lot of water running down the street, it's not at all. And so by not bringing our crews out in the middle of the night to repair a service line break and schedule it during normal operating hours, we typically save thousands of dollars. We don't pay overtime. We have our guys out there doing it as routine work on their time. And so all of this discussion about that water leak up there, it proceeded exactly as it should have, and we would have gotten it fixed faster if Miss Utility had been available to mark the underground lines. The other one I would like to make a comment on that some questions have been asked about is the new sidewalk that is being built between 3rd Avenue and River Road on 28th Street. There was an existing sidewalk there to begin with, and we removed most of that sidewalk when we installed a water line down through there. And so because of the master plan recommendation where we connect all of the parks together, the decision was made to replace that sidewalk so that you can come out of Spencer's Landing, walk up the street, go to the Pollinator Park, you go on up the street, you can come to Spencer Park, right on up the street, you can tie into Jackson Park, and that was the plan, was to tie all of that park system together so that they could all be used. And so that work that is being done over there, it's not finished yet, but it's almost finished, will be a sidewalk connector connecting River Road to 3rd Avenue. And it is the replacement of an existing sidewalk. And if you all recall, back on June the 29th, council voted to approve the work for the concrete replacement through Jimmy Harper Construction. And so Jimmy Harper Construction is the company that is doing that work. That was the contract that we signed, and so that's why it's being done, so that we could do these small jobs like repairing streets where we take a 10 by 10 section out, and we wouldn't have to go out to bid on those small projects. But anyway, it was approved by council that was the contract for the replacement of concrete. So those are my reports. Tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock is the utility board meeting. You all are invited to come if you care to. Anyone else? Chief Joel, one more reminder on the ice cream social, sir.
Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Please bring your baked goods. All right, we greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
Can I just say something? It's nice.
Of course.
So my other job, prosecutor, one of my assignments, or an assistant prosecutor, one of my assignments is the crash team. Crash team investigates, I assist the actual officers in investigating serious accidents, crashes, and so forth. I got a call about a little bit after 4 I don't know, what was Steve, Tuesday morning? And we had a fatality, ended up being a fatality up here on Grand Central Avenue. Now, that's the sad part, and I feel terrible for the family that lost a child. But I do want to say, it's nice to see that we still have people, we have a lot of people that are doers. Sometimes we talk, but we still have a lot of people that are doers. When I got on scene, there were 3 firemen, including your chief, your fire chief, and there were, I believe, 3 officers from the city of Vienna and 2 officers from the county that were out tending to this. While the rest of us, or most of us, spend our time sleeping, remember that you have good, faithful public servants. They work in our police department. They work in our fire department. Our police officers are very faithful and diligent in what they do, and it's not always just out arresting criminals. And our firefighters are very diligent in what they do. And I'm just as appreciative of them as I am of the police department, because most of our firefighters in Vienna are volunteering. So I had, of the 3 men, and I wish there were more, well, of the 3 men that were out, 2 of them were there and they weren't getting paid to do it. So all 3, God bless us. But of the 3 of them, they weren't getting paid to do it. And so those are the kind of folks that you still have. So whenever you go home and you start feeling down about things, or you watch the news and it bums you out, just remember there are good and decent people out there that are working day and night to make life better for the rest of us. So thanks, guys.
All right, that concludes our agenda this evening.